Good evening, afternoon, night, morning, whenever you find a way to watch or listen to this. We are back with hardware. We're not exactly talking about awards, but it is the off season. But the off season is ending, and the season's, I guess, week zero is fastly approaching. It's quickly approaching. Sorry, quickly approaching. And but even then, we still got 2 months left of off season. So we got an off season topic to talk about. Jackson and I. Jackson, it's been a little bit. It's been a little while, but we're slowly getting back onto the right track. How's everything been going?
It's been going good. Yeah, we are really wrapping up the off season, honestly. If you're keeping track of the USFL and maybe reading some of Omar's pieces on the USFL newsroom, honestly, it's been a nonstop year. Like you just go straight in from the USFL off season, so to speak. And then if you follow the NFL, training camp starts right then. So it makes it nice and easy. But yeah. I'm looking forward to it. The college season, I don't really think has as much of a feeling as picking up pace as an NFL fan. Mini camps just wrapped up, and it's like, man, next time we're reading anything about the league that's news, the season's kicking off. Like we're gonna start talking preseason games. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and so I mean, a lot of things in the college world have made this season, this off season, kind of go quicker, or at least show the size of the season coming sooner. As a couple weeks ago, I think about 2.5 weeks to the release of this video, yeah, or 1.5 weeks to the release of this video, the bowl schedule got released. Also, you had the first week zero and week one, two, three. It's kind of weird to say like the first 4 weeks when like it's up to week three, but all the television selections for week zero up to week three have been, I mean, scheduled for networks and time. So we have a picture of the first 4 weeks of the season, and we have the bowl picture, I guess the bowl schedule, which is going to be the crux of our discussion today. As there's always something I always think about when watching a bowl. Some bowls just have immaculate vibes, to reach our young audience. They just have immaculate vibes. Or just you think about a time and a place, and you think about that bowl game. More specifically the time slot, and the things associated with it. So I guess like as I was talking to Jackson before, like the thing that I associate with like the bowl that has like some of the best vibes for me. I mean, without the obvious Hawaii Bowl, everyone knows Christmas Eve, that feeling of Christmas. But I like the New Orleans Bowl, the opening Saturday of bowl season, and something that we talked about before and kind of like discussed is the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl slots, especially the Sugar Bowl being after the Rose Bowl, and how like I know for you, Jackson, it's like you're kind of used to it at this point, and then I had to kind of debunk a little bit how it's like, no, this is like a very recent thing. I'm not like I think it's maybe a contract thing that the Sugar Bowl just asserted itself and got the slot after the Rose Bowl, but not needless to say, the Rose Bowl has been a primetime bowl game like after like on New Year's Day, New Year's Day, and so the New Orleans Bowl kind of follows that same way. And it kind of feels like a Sugar Bowl for the Group of Five. And there's been some great games in recent years. I mean, some very close affairs, some last second games. And it always caps off a big bowl day. Like you think about the Sugar Bowl, caps off New Year's Day. You think about the New Orleans Bowl, great vibes, caps off opening bowl Saturday. So that's kind of like what our discussion entails.
Yeah, man. No, there are definitely some bowl games that you tie down to time slots more than anything else and have memories of. That is coming to what we don't know if it will be an end, when and if it will be with the expanded 12 team playoff. And we talked about that on our last show about how a lot of these bowls are going to get displaced if the first round of like 12 versus 5 of the playoff is going to be like its own time slot where nothing else is on. So yeah, no, a lot to hop into. You mentioned the New Orleans Bowl being one. Mine, this is are my first one. This might be like a special to this year. I'm not really sure the history of like the kickoff time of the Gasparilla Bowl, but the Gasparilla Bowl. It's a Friday, December 22nd at 6:30 p.m. That's the latest kick on that Friday night. A lot of people are getting off that week for Christmas. I don't know about you and I, Omar, but a lot of people are enjoying that week at least. And this is, that Friday night beforehand where you kind of get to kick things off. I don't, no matter where you live, if it's in the snow, whatever, you get to watch a game in Tampa, Florida, where the weather is probably going to be beautiful. Maybe you hear the Cannon Spire if you're lucky, and the LED lights and Ray J. Just a fun game. one point that I heard on the College Game Day podcast with Reese Davis, and Pete Thamel was like a lot of these bowls, like they've lost their meaning of significance that they had. But if you look at the beginning of bowls and like the history of it, it was actually like meant to be like more of a like tourist attraction more than anything else. Oh, look, there's football, right? And that's what these bowls are turning into. And that's the Gasparilla Bowl. Who cares if you win it or not? Like we lost it pretty bad to USF a couple years ago. You know what? Still a fun memory for me. It's just, it's fun. You're on the beach, you're, watching, and, it's having a good time. So, but I especially like that time slot on the Friday before the week that, obviously school's out, all that.
Yeah, so on a couple points too is like I love the point with tourism because something that I have discovered, honestly, with my family last year, we're trying to do this thing as many times as possible, the Borja family bowl trip, where honestly I use the Holiday Bowl. I don't want to pay for a flight to San Diego, so I asked my family to drive with me, and so they got what they got out of it. They got to hang out at Coronado Beach, and they got to go to SeaWorld. Exactly, and that's the thing too. The thing with the tourism thing is as I kind of wish that we didn't buy SeaWorld tickets the night before because walking into the Holiday Bowl, and sure enough, a worker hands me, my brother, and mother free SeaWorld tickets. So I mean, I got an extra souvenir, I guess, to put in my scrapbook. But that's the thing. It's like these bowls and these local tourist attractions want people to go to these bowls for obvious reasons. The tour, because I know when the Gasparilla Bowl got named the Gasparilla Bowl, I was like, what is a Gasparilla? What does that even mean? But turns out there is a rich history of pirates in the Tampa area. And, of course, that's why the Buccaneers were named. I thought people just thought pirates were cool. I thought that's why they named the Buccaneers that. So the tourism is just amazing.
Come on, man. How do you not know this? Gasparilla Fest or whatever it's called every year in Tampa, man. It's a big thing. I don't know. Maybe I just know that, but because, not a native to the area, but, went there a lot growing up. So, but yeah, man, Gasparilla, Pirates, everything pirate down there is a big deal. So yeah, no, it's awesome. The treasure chest logo, it's a lot better than the Bad Boy Mowers Gaspar or whatever it was originally, where, hey, you don't associate necessarily the sponsor as much anymore with whatever the new one is. So
Union
yeah,
Mortgage, I think. Yeah, Union
man.
Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Don't
that's
ask me
that's
why I
right.
memorized that.
No one's talking about Union Mortgage. All they hear is the mower bowl or whatever it was, So yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I can't even remember. Was it my turn or was it your turn again?
Well, I mean, I just want to say something about like the time slot, like you mentioned with the Gasparilla Bowl. I think it's great that they have the game on the Friday before I guess like Christmas, before Christmas. Christmas comes on Monday this year, but I think so. There's something to be said about bowls that have their own time slot and stick to it. Like the New Orleans Bowl last year. I mean, I'm not this. This is. I mean, this is just my example. It's not the next bowl I want to talk about. But New Orleans Bowl last year was on a Tuesday, I think, and not its traditional Saturday slot. And attendance struggled mightily, and it's sad because South Alabama had their best year ever, and in their second bowl appearance ever, or sorry, third bowl appearance ever, in the West Kentucky, Austin Reed, lighting up the sky with footballs. Um, but there's only like 10,000 or so people to see it at the Superdome. So it was like an incredibly sad side. It was like a throwback to the days when Tulane played. No hate on Tulane, but like there's just like no one there. But so they're going back to Saturday, not exactly the primetime slot, but it's like when you're attached to a day. And so for me, something that I like, I guess, in terms of a day and time slot, like I don't have four bowls like you, but there's only one after dark bowl in all of bowl season, and that's I'm about to call it the Cheez Bowl again, but that's a guaranteed rate bowl in Phoenix. This year it's not an after dark kickoff starting at 9 o'clock. I think all the bowl games the day after Christmas start. Yeah, the bowl slate that day starts at 2 o'clock, so you have a 2 o'clock kickoff, a 5:30 kickoff, and a 9 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. But it's just so cool to have an after dark bowl, kind of an homage to Pac-12 fans, even though the Pac-12 has not played in this game in the last since 2020. But having an after dark bowl, great vibes. Chaos happens sometimes. I know a few years back, you had the Cheese INT Bowl where they almost set the record for they either set the record or tied the record for most interceptions in a bowl game with like I think it was like eight or nine interceptions, TCU in California. And then you had even before that, you had a great late night game between Arizona State and West Virginia. Skyler Howard, Jackson. I don't know if you remember that name. You had Skyler Howard versus Mike Bercovici, 43 to 42 at the Diamondbacks ballpark in an after dark affair. So some crazy things happen, in that nice Arizona weather in the after dark slot. And it's like not exactly a high profile slot, but it is the only after dark slot. So I mean, much respect to it. Good vibes for sure. Some late night football.
Absolutely, man. No, that's another good one. That's so sad about like only 10,000 people being there. I remember I can't remember what I was doing, but I was like doing something else, but saw clips of the New Orleans Bowl last year, and I didn't really notice the attendance. But I remember we had talked about South Alabama a lot on Hardware because it was a historical season for that program, albeit hasn't been around for that long. But yeah, man, that's sad. Jeez, 10,000 people. My second one that I'm gonna do, I'll go with the Quick Lane Bowl, actually. That one's the day after Christmas, December 26th at 2 p.m. It's the closest we get to a Christmas Day game. I have a distinct memory as a kid, actually, of watching when it was then the Little Caesars Bowl in Detroit, and playing with whatever I got for Christmas and having hot chocolate. I feel like the Quick Lane Bowl in its history of sponsors or whatever, it should be the closest to Christmas, and like it just feels right. Like that's just my opinion. We're talking bowl game vibes, right? So it's hard to verbalize it, although it's a podcast, so that's a bad thing. But yeah, man, it just feels like, it feels fitting that no one really cares if you win the Quick Lane Bowl or not. It's just fun. Like you're still off from Christmas, you're relaxing, having hot chocolate, whatever it is you're doing, and watching the Quick Lane Bowl. So don't be a loser and watch Christmas movies. That sucks. Like watch the Quick Lane Bowl. That's a lot more fun.
I do not endorse that statement by Jackson, even though my favorite Christmas movie every year, Home Alone. But I mean, I like the Quick Lane Bowl.
You can watch it, and there's no college game day that morning. It's like a Tuesday or whatever. You can watch your Christmas movies in the morning when you wake up, and then you can tune over to ESPN to watch bowl games for the rest of the day. That's how it should be. That's how God intended Christmas to be. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
debatable. God intended. Well, I guess God didn't create the holiday of Christmas, but I mean, God intended us to celebrate His, first son, His who would die for our sins. But this is not a religious podcast. No, we're recording this Sunday morning. It's not a sermon, but but uh, um, yeah. So I mean, the Quick Lane Bowl on the matchup. I love the vibes of the matchup because this is like in most years the MAC's only Power Five game. Well, it's supposed to be because the Big Ten has a million teams in the New Year's Six. They haven't been able to put a team in the Quick Lane Bowl in years, but it's supposed to be the MAC's only Power Five matchup, and it's like it just feels like a big game. You have the NFL stadium. Even though like I know some MAC fans get tired. You don't actually get the MAC champion because they get tired of playing in Detroit because they played in Detroit like 3 weeks ago for the MAC title game. But you get a team of respectable resume, having a strong season, and they're supposed to play a Power Five team, so it's just great. And even you get some cool matchups like the past years. You've had MAC versus Western team matchups, kind of like a little bit a term that me and Marshall, our good friend Marshall, use, a Foes Bowl, FAUXS, where it's like kind of like a fake Rose Bowl, where I mean, you have the Midwest versus the West, and that's always fun to match up, especially in this new age of the college football playoff when the Rose Bowl is not a guaranteed Big Ten Pac-12 matchup. For like it's gonna anytime that happens, it'll be strictly coincidence, I should say. So bowls like the Arizona Bowl and the Quick Lane Bowl are huge for that reason. So I guess that's like a good segue. I mean, I think I kind of encompass the Arizona Bowl, but I guess I'll go to another Southwest Bowl for my next one, the Sun Bowl. And again, the whole thing with time slot. Time slot is huge. Time slot and network, where it seems ESPN owns bowl season, broadcasting all but three bowls. It's very annoying to me. But every single year, you have CBS bring out all the stops on their college football production into the Sun Bowl. And it's just an amazing production, honestly. It's an amazing production. And also, too, it's been on CBS every year since 1968, since the Lyndon Baines Johnson administration. And most years, when the college football playoff is not interfering with it, it is a 12 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, high noon out here in the out here in the Southwest. Some years it's a noon Eastern time kickoff. I mean, 2021 was kind of brutal, having to leave the house at 4 in the morning to make the Sun Bowl, but we made it. But that being said, tradition and time slot and just honestly kind of being different, just the vibes of having that bowl game, the way that bowls used to be, on network TV, on your local channels, just bringing out all the stops.
That's crazy. I knew that it had a history with CBS. I didn't realize it dated back that far. So no, that's awesome. And keep it at a noon kickoff. Get out your Tony the Tiger cereal or whatever it is. I don't even know. But yeah, eat that, watch the Sun Bowl, have some fun with it, right? So I'm gonna go with my next one is also food related. I'm gonna go with the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which I don't know how we haven't really talked about yet. It's this year, it's on Wednesday, December 27th at 5:30 p.m. Honestly, it's quintessential college football. There's nothing better than a bowl game on just a random Wednesday with a Mayo bath, Marty Smith with the sideline analysis. I wish it was a noon kick. That's the only way like that you could make it more obscure. But like I love it. Like it's just trying to explain the Duke's Mayo Bowl and the lure of it to someone who doesn't really follow college football or barely knows what it is. Like it's impossible. And it's just like, man, there's nothing. The Duke's Mayo Bowl is everything right with college football. Omar, I know you're also probably even a bigger fan than me of both the brand and the bowl. But yeah, man, no, I love it. I can't wait for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. I was at work last year. I don't think I've ever had like a more miserable 3 hours at work. Like just like gosh, I'm here when I could be watching Duke's Mayo Bowl. So I plan on either taking off early that day or putting a day in, whatever I need to do to make sure I'm at home eating I don't what like probably like a chicken sandwich or something like that with just a lot of mayonnaise on it more than I would usually partake in. So yeah, man, I can't wait.
Yeah, so I mean, a little bit about the mayonnaise thing. It's like I told Kim, my girlfriend, about what I do because I forgot how the topic came up with the mayo, and I'm like, yeah, like there's like times after work, I'll have a coupon for like some McDonald's fries or something, and I'll just like sit in front of the TV with my fries and just dip them like inside the jar of mayonnaise when it's like when it's full and the fries can reach, and I can just see the look of disgust on her face. It's just like, but just like with a jar of Duke's mayonnaise. But I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a bowl. I don't think I've ever seen a corporate sponsor be lifted to the heights that by a bowl game that the Duke's Mayo Bowl has. Like this has been an
Yeah.
amazing partnership, and it's fun. It's interesting because you would think that people would overlook a bowl in the city of Charlotte, on like a random winter, I guess, December day. They would overlook it, but it's like because it's a Mayo Bowl, it's like everyone's marking the calendar because they've leaned into it charitably with the mayonnaise bats. And there's also been other like very like chaotic things happening in the bowl game, like the infamous 2020 Graham Mertz, your quarterback when he was Wisconsin quarterback, breaking the trophy. I don't even know what kind of
That
dance he
was
was doing.
Graham Mertz.
That
I
was
did
Graham
not
Mertz.
know
Graham
that.
Mertz was the one holding the trophy. I'm pretty sure. I
Oh
have the
my
shirt.
gosh.
Yeah, I have the
I
shirt
did
with a
not
duct
know
tape
that
jar
actually.
with a duct tape bottle of mayonnaise. It says Duke's Mayo Bowl. It says 2020 on it. But it's like that happened in that bowl game. So it's like you always know it's gonna be, even if the game itself is just kind of like a drag like last year, with it being a 16-12 game. Devin
It makes
Leary
it
has been
even
out there.
better. Like that's how it should be though,
Well,
in my
okay,
opinion.
just because the bowl game is named after a mayonnaise brand doesn't mean both teams have to play like this sloshing around a field full of mayonnaise. Like, cause that's what it seemed like last year. I was expecting like a lot more to Talia Tungavailoa. Or actually, yeah, out of Talia, but no, like they just beat NC State 16-12. So,
It
um,
was the before it was the Dukes or not the Dukes Mayo Bowl. The Dukes Mayo Bowl was the Belk Bowl
yeah, it was the
before, I
Belk Bowl.
believe,
Yep.
right? Yeah, the Belk
Yep.
Bowl. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean that's just my note there on the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl. Um, so going back, I think like a lot of these group of five games kind of lack like a big game feel to like the casual fan. Like for me as a diehard, every bowl game, I like the group of five bowl games more than the New Year's Six. I'll be honest with you. I think they're just great how hard the teams play. Yet I mean I'm not gonna go on a stump of opt outs. It's just great because these are big moments for these programs, and it's like it's like the National Riders. I'm gonna go on my National Riders rants. You know that if you follow me on Twitter, you know there's been a few National Riders rants lately. Maybe that's just anger at me, you know, wanting to be a National Rider myself, become the villain myself. But National Riders want you to just like not pay attention to these games. I want you to be hyper focused on the playoff. And there are some meaningful games. Like I always point back to the 2018 Camellia Bowl. And I'm getting chills talking about this, but Tyler Bass, you know, Buffalo Bills great, kicks the game-winning field goal as time expires over Eastern Michigan. And Chad Lunsford drops to his knees and starts crying over the Camellia Bowl. Tell me these bowls don't matter. Tell me these bowls aren't great. But anyway, I'm fired up. I'm ready to run through a brick wall. But I mean, some of these games are just like huge games. Like just because like the stage they're at and just like again time slot. I just love the vibes of the LA Bowl, and especially with the announcer team. In the first two editions, ABC has brought out the heavyweights in terms of it with not Chris Rowell, with Joe Tessitore and Greg McElroy, which I think honestly I would categorize them as ABC's second team. With Joe Tessitore getting some ABC Saturday Night Football reps, and also Joe Tessitore being probably like my favorite or second favorite college football announcer at the time. At this moment, you get Joe Tessitore on an ABC broadcasting the Mountain West champ. In essence, like this is the Rose Bowl replacing the Rose Bowl, you know, for Western teams, where it's like you win the Mountain West, you're going to go to the LA Bowl. Like that is a prize. Maybe okay, the New Year's Six is a prize, but the secondary prize for the Mountain West is the LA Bowl to play against a Pac-12 team. And you know, last year it's also like up there with the Mayo Bowl as the goofiest bowl, with Jimmy Kimmel himself, his brand being like the brand of him being a human or celebrity being the sponsor of that game. A lot of goofiness happens with that game, but you know, you just have like a big stage at SoFi Stadium on a Saturday night in 2021. It was on a Saturday afternoon, but the presentation had a fun intro with you know, they had a movie marquee and they had highlights of Jake Haener and Cameron Ward, and it's just like, you know, yeah, this is Hollywood. Two great quarterbacks from the West Coast filling up the sky with footballs. You know, this year it's back on Saturday Night Football. Hopefully Joe Tessitore is back on the call again. Last year's game was an injustice that it was such a boring game, 29-6, Fresno State. You know, but the year before, Utah State, Oregon State, with Cooper Lega throwing a touchdown on his first play as a college quarterback, like you in LA, you know, I hate to go with the Hollywood cliches, but you can't write a better script than that with Joe Tessitore on the call, you know. So that's just my thing. Like, I'm a huge fan of the LA Bowl. You know, and it's definitely like on my list of games to go to like soon, you know.
And my favorite like quirk about the LA Bowl is that if you watch briefly NFL Total Access, which is, you know, the NFL's daily night show on the NFL Network, they do a few segments, a handful of segments outdoors on the little field that's directly, like literally across the sidewalk from SoFi Stadium. I remember you can see like the background of the action like going on with the Jimmy Kimmel label and the pregame festivities and stuff like that. It was just funny, just a little quirk around there because it was built with the NFL in mind. But there are plenty of other events that happen in SoFi. But yeah, no, I love the Jimmy Kimmel label. The players going on the bowl as the week goes along as well. So yeah, no, that's always a fun one. But I'll go with my last one that I really had, you know, first popped into my mind. One that we've talked about, the Hawaii Bowl. It's December 23rd at 10:30 p.m. I don't think there are any bowl games on Christmas Eve, so this is going to be the closest you get to before Christmas. Shout out to EasyPost for being such a great sponsor, killing it with the social media game and everything they do. But EasyPost, I remember when the Hawaii Bowl got canceled a couple years ago, EasyPost was out there. And they just, I mean, they were posting as if the game was going on, but you know, obviously no one was there besides our friend. So, but yeah, no, it's fun. The Hawaii Bowl, same thing, same appeal of the Gasparilla Bowl, which like you're watching something in paradise, right? And especially if you live in a cold place like I do, that's nice to see. Oh man, sunshine, palm trees, probably 7 degrees, you know, right before Christmas. So.
Exactly. I mean, the anticipation of Christmas, you know, is just amazing. I mean, and the Hawaii Bowl adds to it as well. You know, I'm kind of not a fan. I have not really been a fan of the NFL kind of like doing their thing with Christmas Eve. Like last year, wasn't there like a Friday night game on Christmas Eve.
They're
Raiders
definitely
Steelers.
trying to do a lot more on holidays and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so it's
yeah,
kind of
they had
unnecessary. Yeah, I mean,
Black
but yeah,
Friday
yeah,
too. But
exactly. Yeah, the Black Friday, that's a different topic for a different time. But yeah, like I mean, the whole holiday vibe, the Hawaii Bowl, always great. I liked it way better when it was at the Aloha Bowl. But you have some great games, on Christmas Eve, you're on the edge of your seat. The anticipation. Like I always think about the 2019 Hawaii Bowl, one of our friend Brock's favorite games to talk about because like Zach Wilson, they was. I mean, what he had a good game, but I mean, they Hawaii and Cole McDonald beat Zach Wilson in Hawaii and Christmas Eve, in that very like underrated rivalry between BYU and Hawaii. It goes back to the WAC days. So you have some barn burner games as well in the Hawaii Bowl, which is just great. Which I mean, I guess to close out, my remarks in terms of bowls, the Bahamas Bowl. I'm surprised we haven't got to the Bahamas Bowl yet, and especially too, I like what the MAC did last year, where they brought viewers to a random, not even random, but one, I guess, kind of the B game, like the non-national game of MACtion of the last week of MACtion on the Wednesday. I think it was either Wednesday or Tuesday night, but Ball State Miami game was on ESPN Plus. Definitely wasn't on anyone's mind. But they say, you know what, both teams are 5-6. The winner of this game is going to be going to the Bahamas Bowl, and so honestly, added stakes. You have essentially a playoff game. And then you have one of the Miami players carrying a Bahamas flag after they win the game, which is like just amazing, that they associated this game with that. They made that game a high stakes game. So it's the same thing with the Hawaii Bowl. Everything you said about just a great vacation spot and everything, just a laid back atmosphere. You have Steve Levy on the mic calling a MAC game, a MAC and Conference USA game. Fun to see. And it also opens up the bowl season too. It's like what better way? It's like what better way to open up just a season of happiness and joy that is bowl season. This is 3 week period or 2.5 week period. Then starting off with the Bahamas Bowl. It's always sunny. I mean, even last you have some great finishes. The 2014 Central Michigan Lateral. Then even last year you have a Miami and UAB doing their best Super Bowl 33 impression with the Titans and the Rams. With Miami coming up Miami coming up 1 yard short in just an amazing finish. And like I was sad that I was at work, I was at work and I saw that happen. I just couldn't believe I didn't see that live. But that's just my thing with the Bahamas Bowl. Just honestly, amazing vibes to start off the bowl season.
that's going to be one of my most distinct memories at the Bahamas Bowl is going to be Brian Vincent giving his victory speech, knowing that he's on his way out, even after wanting to stay at the program and everything he had done for UAB. That was emotional, and that was so cool to watch. So but yeah, that's really all of them for me. I completely agree with you with the Bahamas Bowl. Like, what a cool way to go out. That's like considered like lowest on the totem pole or one of the lower ones, right? And it's just so cool to see it like be celebrated so much. What better way to put it in the Bahamas, and have them do that. So yeah, man. But that's all I've got. Anything else you got on here before we hop off?
No, I mean, like you said earlier with the tourism, with the Gasparilla Bowl, start planning those bowl trips. There's a bowl within drivable distance, it's 100% worth it to make the trip and head up to that bowl game. You won't regret it. Even if it's a blowout, you won't regret it.
Definitely, man. Well, that should be it. We will, man. We're getting close, so we'll start coming out with more of these as the season gets closer. But until then,
Till then, peace, love, and soul, everyone.